Okay, I'm ready.
All right, is everybody else ready? All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the November 14th, 2023 City Commission. I want to remind you all to please silence your cell phones at this time. And I call this meeting to order. Val, please call the roll.
Commissioner Penny?
Here.
Commissioner Curry?
Here.
Commissioner Danio?
Here.
Commissioner Johnson? Here. Mayor Villa?
Here. And I'll ask you all to please stand for the invocation led by Vice Mayor Penny and continue standing afterwards for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Will you pray with me? Dear gracious God, we thank you for the many gifts you bestow upon us all. We ask that you guide and direct our meeting so that it's full of wisdom, productivity, and respect for one another. We ask that you keep our teammates safe as they do their jobs. And we ask that you put your hand of comfort on those that are dealing with the loss of a loved one this week. So God, please bless this meeting, this city, and our great country. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Vice Mayor. All right, we're going to go ahead and recess the City Commission meeting and convene as the CRA. So on our CRA agenda tonight, we have the first item is 2023-R-64. Mr. Simpson?
CRA Resolution 2023-R-64 by title only for first and only reading. A resolution of the Community Redevelopment Agency of the City of Holly Hill, Florida, approving an agreement with FPL for the replacement of lighting fixtures in Riverside Park at an initial cost of $14,076.30, monthly maintenance cost of $102.75, and the ongoing cost of electricity powering the lights, and authorizing the city manager to execute the same, providing for severability and providing for an effective date.
Thank you, Mr. Simpson. Mr. Forte.
These are the lights that are in the 2nd Street Park, just on the south side of the Marina Grand. We had an agreement for FPL to put the decorative lights up along the sidewalk, all of Riverside Drive. Well, it makes sense to go, we're replacing the lights in Sunrise Park and in Ross Point Park. So we decided we should probably replace the lights inside of 2nd Street Park as well, make it all look consistent. But that was not part of the original scope, so this is just adding it to that scope of work.
Thank you very much, and I'm happy to hear that it's going to move forward, because I know for a time there we were concerned about it. So we've talked a lot about this item through visioning, planning, and so I assume there's no questions for staff.
I don't have it.
Seeing none, we'll open this up to the public. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak to the commission on this item tonight? Seeing none, I'll close public participation. I'll entertain a motion for approval.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for approval of CRA agenda item 2023-R-64. Is there any discussion needed? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The motion carries unanimously. Now, staying with our CRA agenda, Mr. Forte, did you get to speak to Mr. Simpson about moving
Yes.
up
On
another
your
item?
regular agenda, you have an item there that's for the CRA consultant, our efforts to move the CRA to an extension. We really should hear it as a CRA agency, so there's no resolution or item number to it, but I think it's good for us to hear it as a CRA agency. We can take action on it, and then we'll do it again under the regular agenda.
The only thing I request by doing that, since we have it on the regular agenda, is I want it to be presented twice. Sometimes when it's on a CRA, we won't present it the second time in the same night. So with no objection, we will move item 1 from our regular agenda, Resolution 2023-R-67, to our CRA agenda. Scott, do we need to?
Not technically moving it, just copying it.
Copy, right, not moving, keeping it there, but copying it over to the CRA. Thank you. That's why we pay you the big bucks. All right, we will now entertain that. And do you need to read it into the record, Mr. Simpson?
The only thing to read would be the resolution, but the resolution is really for the city commission, so I can read that when it gets to the city commission. I think Joe just wants to hear the item.
Yeah, as long as it's okay for us to hear the item and that
then
the...
you can make a motion in a second to recommend approval to the commission, and then I'll read the resolution that we have.
Perfect, thank you. All right, so do you want to read it in the record then? Is that what
When
you-
it comes up for reading at the regular
for the
meeting. Not
commission.
he's just going to.
All right, Mr.
Yeah.
Forte, the floor is
So
yours.
why don't we just say that it's an agenda item as an RFP updating the 2007 City of Holly Hill Community Redevelopment Area Master Plan and extending the CRA sunset date from May 2026 to May 2036, and awarding the project to GAI at a cost of $98,289, and authorizing the city manager to execute the contract.
Sounds good. The floor is yours, Mr. Manager.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask John to stand up and kind of give you an initial blush of what's going on, and then we'll be able to address any questions that you may have. And hopefully we can answer some of the questions that you and I have already talked about in John's little presentation.
Great. Mr. Cox.
Thank you, Mr. Forte, Mr. Mayor, members of the commission, good evening. A number of months ago, you held a work session, and in that work session, you talked about whether or not you wanted to extend the CRA beyond its expiration date, which is in 2026. As part of that discussion, you affirmed as a commission your desire to continue to eliminate blight and slum-like conditions in the city of Holly Hill, which you've done effectively for many years, and you desire to continue to do that. Based on that, staff was given direction to create an RFP, to issue it, which we did. We had a number of bids returned. On a date certain, those bids were open in front of a committee that was selected to evaluate all the bids. A score sheet was put together, the scores were looked at, positives and negatives were discussed, and out of that came the recommendation that we would select GAI. References have been called, and the responses that we got from doing reference checks were all very positive. They have a long history of work in this area, and one of the things that helped probably distinguish them as the one who won the bid was the fact that they have worked with and they desire to work with county commissions very early in the process to determine how the county commission feels about the extension of the CRA. We would hate to go through an extensive process and spend about $100,000 only at the very end to find out that the commission, the county council, may not be in favor of it. And so this particular proposal begins with the county commission. It's extensive. It'll take many months to do. That's how this recommendation came to be. So it will take the 2007 plan, it'll update it, there'll be community input, there'll be input certainly from city commission. They'll work with your CRA team, which would be a number of people here in the room and in City Hall. And I think that we're going to end up getting the result that we want.
Great, thank you very much. And
sir.
one question for you, John, is do we know if this current county council will be the one that's deciding these CRAs, or is it the next seated one?
Yeah, I'm not real good at looking into a
Probably
crystal
depends
ball.
on.
It's the timing.
It's a timing issue, because you have I think the county council has an election a year from now,
Right.
so it's all timing.
It depends who's seated. So this is a 365-day
Right.
contract, right?
year.
So by the time we execute this, there will probably be an election before the conclusion of this.
Oh, okay, so it will be the next council.
That's,
And the point to that is, elections can change the whole makeup of ideas.
unless, depending upon what we happen, we try to expedite to get before the current council before they change, which
Well,
would probably be better.
I guess one thing I would point out, just listen to, and I like the idea of going to the county council, get their feel for it, because they have to agree that they delegate it since we're a charter county. But the county council you talk to now is not going to be the county council that makes the decision later.
Yeah, that's my point.
So that's probably what maybe your point is, that if
And-
we get resistance now, I think the question would be, well, who is that resistance? And are those people up for election?
Right.
And do we want to continue moving forward with the thought maybe they won't be there?
Right, and I do know that it is a mixed bag of feelings from the council. So just from my conversations thus far. So I'm going to be for this tonight because I think we need to move this forward and we need to discuss this and see if we are able to, because as I've stated before, the CRA has been one of the best tools for economic development and to obviously reduce blight here along our city. And I think most of the residents and people all around the area would agree with that, especially with the progress we've made on US 1 alone. So the other question that I have for you is, did you say that they will go with this consultant go to the county council for us on our behalf?
Yes.
Okay, that was my,
Clarification, Mayor.
okay,
They're going to do it in the beginning to make sure, they're doing it in the beginning because if the county council says, you know what, we are absolutely not extending any CRAs, don't waste your time and money,
right,
we close it. If the council seems supportive and says, all right, bring us your presentation, prove that you're worthy enough of an extension, we go through the process, and at the end, then they bring us to the county council for the final approval.
oh, so they will bring us and present it for us with the county council at the end?
That's
All
how
right.
I understand it.
Great, great to hear. Any other questions? Yes, Vice Mayor?
The length of the extension is a 10 year, is that a standard extension? Is that the maximum extension, or?
It is not the maximum extension. A CRA can have a 60-year life. Trying to read the tea leaves, I think a lot of jurisdictions, when they've looked at an extension, they've looked at a 10-year extension as opposed to longer.
Interesting. Any other questions for staff? All right, seeing none, thank you very much, Mr. Cox. Now we'll open this up to the public. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak on this item tonight? Yes, sir. Just state your name and address for the record. You have 5 minutes.
Hi, Philip Wabi, 326 15th Street. As somebody that's used the CRA for my business, I appreciate it, and using it in other places also. I also was curious, are the prices going to, the amount allowed for funding be changed and increased? I mean, alone last year, prices have increased exponentially when trying to get some projects done, and $10,000 is a lot and a very gracious help from the city. But, the dollar in today's market doesn't go as far as it did yesterday, unfortunately. Just wasn't sure if that was something that we could revisit or something, that was on our minds.
Yep, and I'll get you an answer to that after
Okay.
public comment.
All right, thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak on this item tonight? Yes, sir.
So, Jim Legary, 342 Burley. So, we're not going to move ahead with any of the public outreach until such time as we hear from the county? Is that what I understand?
And I'll get you an answer to that, but if you'd like to give all of your questions,
That's it.
okay, I'll address that. Thank you, Mr. Legary. No, you already came up once, sorry. Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to speak to the commission? All right, seeing none, I'll close public comment, and just to address Mr. Wabi. So the CRA is what they call TIF, tax increment financing. So the amount available will be determined on taxable value and how much it goes up or down. But the grants that the city gives out that I think that you're addressing is set every year by this city commission. And so if you would like us to look at other grant opportunities, I know this commission would be happy to look at that, and we'll go through that. In the last couple of years, we've actually had trouble with some funds and some grants getting all of the money out. So if you have ideas for that, I'm all ears, and I know staff is as well. And Mr. Legary, can you address his question about when the public will be able to talk? 'Cause-
Well, I think he's asking kind of a double question. One is, when we move forward with the consultant, there will be public outreach for input for the plan as it moves forward. I think what he's asking is, if the county council decides not to move forward with it, does that then stop any community outreach? Is that what you're asking, Jim? Yeah, so he's still asking for some kind of community outreach, whether we move forward with the CRA plan or not.
Okay, and I think we'll have that discussion when we determine it. But if this is moving forward, then we will definitely take the public's input on the CRA. We're going to hold a meeting and make sure that it's representative of what the citizens want. So thank you for the question, and now I'll entertain a motion for approval for recommendation from the CRA Board to the City Commission.
Motion to approve.
We have a motion to approve from Commissioner Curry, a second from Commissioner Johnson. Is there any discussion needed? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? The motion carries unanimously. Now we're going to adjourn the CRA and reconvene as the City Commission, and we will start off with public comments. This is the audience's opportunity to address the City Commission about anything not on our agenda tonight. Is there anybody in the audience that would like to address the City Commission? Heidi's shaking her head no. You don't have anything tonight. I'm saving it just for you. Oh, he's saving it for another item. All right. With that, we will close public comments, and we will move to the approval of the minutes from October 24th, 2023 regular City Commission meeting and October 24th, 2023 workshop. Can I have an approval, a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak on the minutes? Seeing none, I will close public participation on the minutes, and we'll take a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? The motion carries unanimously. Now moving to our consent agenda, items 1 through 4. Would any commissioner like to remove any item on the consent agenda tonight? Okay. The action proposed is stated for each item on the consent agenda. Unless a city commissioner removes an item from the consent agenda, no discussion on individual items will occur, and a single motion will approve all items. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to speak on any item on the consent agenda tonight? Seeing none, I will close public participation. I'll entertain a motion for approval of the consent agenda.
Motion to approve.
We have a motion to approve from Commissioner Danio and a second from Commissioner Johnson. There's no discussion required. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? The motion carries unanimously. Now we're moving to our regular agenda. The first one is Resolution 2023-R-67. Mr. Simpson.
Resolution number 2023-R-67 by title only for first and only reading. Resolution of the City Commission of the City of Holly Hill, Florida, approving 23-CRA-05, an RFP updating the 2007 City of Holly Hill Community Redevelopment Area Master Plan and extending the CRA sunset date from May 26 to May 2036, and awarding the project to GAI at a cost of $98,289, and authorizing the city manager to execute the same, providing for severability and providing an effective date.
All right, I know I said I wanted it presented twice, but I didn't see anybody new that came in that wanted to hear about the CRA. If there is, raise your hand and we'll redo the presentation for you. Seeing no hands in the air, thank you for the presentation earlier. I think it suffices. Are there any further questions for staff? Seeing none, then we'll open this up to public comment. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak on this item? All right, seeing none, we'll close public participation. I'll entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion for approval from Vice Mayor Penny and a second from Commissioner Curry. Is there any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? The motion carries unanimously. Now moving to number 2, Resolution 2023-R-68. Mr. Simpson.
Resolution number 2023-R-68 by title only for first and only reading. A resolution of the City of Holly Hill, Florida, amending the fiscal year 2023-2024 annual operating budget, setting forth revenues and expenditures, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date.
Thank you. Mr. Forte, did we get the approval?
No, the letter has not come in yet. So what this is it's a budget amendment that provides for the $1,250,000 that we received through the appropriations from the State Fire Marshal's office. So before we can give the notice to proceed to the contractor, we have to have it fully funded. So we have the city's portion of the funding obviously budgeted. We're waiting on the State Fire Marshal's letter that confirms the funding. Now, it went through appropriations, so we know that we've got it, but the technicality is just waiting for the State Fire Marshal's office to send us the letter. So to not delay this any further, this item is on your agenda here, and the way I have the motion worded is that it takes effect upon the receipt of the the Florida Division of Fire Marshal sending us that letter. So though you're approving it tonight, and typically a resolution becomes effective immediately, this resolution will become effective upon receipt of the letter from the State Fire Marshal's office. So if we get it tomorrow, we can go ahead and give the notice to proceed rather than having to wait 2 more weeks or more.
Perfect, and it's noted that the recommended motion represents that, correct?
I could read the motion if you'd like.
Yes, please.
Yeah, it says approve the resolution and amending the fiscal year 2023-2024 annual operating budget, setting forth revenues and expenditures, and providing for an effective date immediately upon receipt of the executed agreement and the documentation from the State of Florida Division of State Fire Marshal.
Thank you very much, Mr. Forte. Are there any questions for staff? Seeing none, we'll open up public comment. Is there any public comment on this item tonight? Seeing none, I'll close public comment and I'll entertain a motion of approval as stated by Mr. Forte.
Motion to approve.
We have a motion to approve from Commissioner Curry and a second from Commissioner Johnson. Thank you. Any discussion needed? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Now moving to number 3, Resolution 2023-R-69. Mr. Simpson.
Resolution number 2023-R-69 by title only for first and only reading. A resolution of the City of Holly Hill, Florida, amending the fiscal year 2023-2024 annual operating budget, appropriating open encumbrances and project carry-over funds from the fiscal year 2022-2023 to the fiscal year 2023-2024 budget, setting forth revenues and expenditures and providing for an effective date.
Thank you. Mr. Forte.
So it's just what Scott said. These are projects in the 2023 year that were not completed, so we're carrying the projects and the funding over to the next fiscal year, 23-24. The list of projects are in the agenda item. I don't know if anybody has any questions about them. We're prepared to answer them if you happen to.
Are there any questions for staff? All right. Now we'll open this up to public comment. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak on this item tonight? Seeing none, I'll close public comments, and I will entertain a motion for approval.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion to approve from Commissioner Curry and a second from Commissioner Danio. Any discussion needed? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? The motion carries unanimously. Now we're going to move to number 4, request for a lien reduction, 172 Flomis Street. Mr. Forte.
Got to catch up.
Man, that's really coming down too.
Yeah, the rain. I love it.
It's nice to sleep,
Yeah,
just not leave here in.
that's true.
So the city received a request for a code enforcement lien reduction that was placed upon the property located at 172 Flomage Street. The original owner, George Leens, L-E-E-N-E-S, passed away on June 29th, 2022. Upon his death, the home went to his daughter, Kimberly, who had cerebral palsy. Kimberly lived in the home alone and was unable to make any improvements to the property to correct the code violations due to her mental and physical conditions. Kimberly passed away on July 28th, 2022. Darlene Leens, the mother to Kimberly, is now the beneficiary to the estate. Darlene is 84 years old and lives in Pennsylvania. She's disabled and was not aware of the code violations until the estate company stepped in as the estate manager to help settle the estate. A notice of violation was issued on March 8th, 2022, with a notice to appear on March 30th of 2022 for violations on the property which consisted of Section 26-61, paren 2, sanitary nuisance, and 3 counts of International Property Maintenance Code 302.8 for motor vehicles. The property was brought into compliance on October 27th, 2023, and is eligible for consideration by the Commission for a lien reduction. The original lien was $26,250, and after I applied the typical methodology that we use of 10% of the lien plus the administrative cost, I'm recommending that we reduce the lien down to $3,030.26. That would be paid no later than December 15th, 2023.
Thank you, Mr. Forte. Are there any questions for staff from this commission? You look like you're pondering something, Vice Mayor.
No.
No? All right, then we'll open this up to the public. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to address the commission on this lien reduction? Seeing none, I'll close public participation and I'll entertain a motion for approval.
Second.
We have a motion for approval from Commissioner Johnson and a second from Vice Mayor Penny. Is there any discussion needed? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries unanimously. Now we'll move to number 5, which is the Vineyards plat. Mr. Forte.
Actually, we turned this one over to Mr. Walker.
All right. Mr. Walker, the floor is yours, sir.
Yes, Mayor, Commission. This item concerns final plat approval for a 134-lot subdivision called Vineyards Townhomes. It's on approximately 13 acres, 900 feet west of Center Avenue, and it's on the south side of 6th Street. Just to give you a quick history on it, back in September of 2022, the 13 acres came before this commission in order to receive the zoning and future land use entitlements. The property was zoned to a residential plan unit development and received medium-density residential future land use. In August of 2022, the applicant submitted the final engineering plans for the Vineyards Townhomes, and in January 2023, the City Commission approved the preliminary plat, which is also known as final engineering for the Vineyards Townhomes subdivision. Just to give you a reminder,
It's up there, Brian.
okay, you have it up. So this is what we're talking about. This is what the preliminary plat showed and what the preliminary plan showed as part of the zoning. And just to give you a little bit of history on what the sizes are and what we're looking at, again, it's 134 two-story townhomes. The minimum lot size that you see there is 1,800 square feet. The minimum townhome square footage is 1,060 square feet, and the maximum building height is 30 feet. The city is providing the potable water and sanitary sewer. So now the final step is final plat approval. We received a final plat request, and it has been reviewed by city staff. It's been found to be compliant with the city's land development regulations. The city surveyor also reviewed the plat in order to make sure it complies with all of the statutes in Florida Chapter 177. Because the infrastructure is not complete, the applicant did post a bond to cover the cost of completing the infrastructure. In the rare instance that for some reason they're unable to complete the job, we do have a bond that will cover the cost of completing the infrastructure. We've also received the HOA documents. Those are attached and will be recorded with the final plat. And so based on this is kind of the last step of what seems to be a very promising project. Staff recommends that the City Commission approve the final plat for the Vineyards Townhomes.
Thank you, Brian. Are there any questions for staff? Yes, sir, Vice Mayor.
So Brian, the parcel in question that the state owned that we've been trying to clear up right in the middle, what happens if we get that and we can sell it or gift it or however it goes to the developer? Do they have to come back and amend this final plat, or is it just a staff level amendment at that time?
At this point, it would be adding property to the residential plan unit development, so they would come back to this commission.
We have to go through the whole planning and appeals, the whole process again to add however many houses there are in the middle?
It would basically be an amendment. It'd be a major amendment, but it would not be, it would have to go through the same steps, but it would cost them less money to apply for it, and there would be less in terms of data in getting it approved.
So, Joe, remind me, there was some correspondence recently on this, right? Is there a possibility, or is it impossibility, or kind of where are we at?
Like I said to the mayor, I've been working on this for probably 4 or 5 years on trying to get some kind of ownership to that property. So the latest correspondence was that I let the state know what our intentions were for the property, and they were supposed to run it up the flagpole to their management team and get back to me. I sent them another email last week trying to find out what the status was, and I haven't gotten anything back. So, under ideal circumstances, they would agree. They went through the entire process of publicly trying to offer the property to other state agencies that might be interested. Because there are none interested, the next option is that they would either try to sell it on the open market or give the city the opportunity to purchase it. And then if the city has an opportunity to purchase it, then we would take it and we would offer it for sale for the highest and best use that would fit onto that parcel. So right now, I couldn't give you a time frame when
Okay.
that may happen.
Thanks.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Are there any further questions? I have a few questions. So talk to me, Brian. I know that when it's coming before us for the final plat, that there should have been more progress made in the last year. And I know that you and your staff has asked for the bonds to be issued, so that those checks are here with the city. Am I correct?
We have a bond that's been issued by a surety company for just
Okay.
over $500,000.
$500,000, okay. And who makes those estimates? That's my question for the bond. Is it the applicant that estimates those construction costs to be yet to be done?
It's done by the engineer. So an engineer signs and seals a cost estimate. Sometimes those numbers are also gotten from from a contract to complete the work. But it's very common that they're provided for by an engineer, signed and sealed cost estimate. And in this case, we did receive that from Newkirk Engineering.
And I know you were on top of this, and I appreciate Mr. Forte and Mr. Walker for making sure that the Ts were crossed, the Is were dotted. And I just want to ask you, are you comfortable with these bonds coming in, that the project will be completed as is?
Yes, I am comfortable that the project will be completed.
Okay.
The applicant has been working, and I don't see any reason why the project won't be completed.
Last question, how long is the bond for?
In this case, that bond is good until we release it, until we say that it is no longer needed.
So I think
I think the
What I'm
question
saying,
is,
the opposite.
when do we
Yeah.
when can we call the bond
Right.
for lack of progress?
Oh, well, we would have to look at whether or not, what the circumstances are. If the developer abandoned the site, then we would do it at that time. If the developer declared bankruptcy and said we can't complete the project, then we would call the bond at that time. But it would depend on the circumstances, and it's something that we would get together, discuss with the city manager and with the city attorney as to whether or not it would be an appropriate time to call the bond. But it would depend on the circumstances.
Okay, so it's at our will. It's not a set date.
Correct.
It's not a set date, and, and like Brian said, there are some factors if the contractor should happen to pass away.
Right.
But in this particular case, and this particular project, this contractor has a history of successful projects. His communication with us is that he should be pretty far along come the first of the year. And once he gets it pad ready, the intention is to then sell the project to a major townhome developer who will do the vertical construction.
Okay.
So
All
we're
right.
pretty confident, based on history and experience, that there should be no hiccups with this project.
Okay, good.
I-
Thank you.
And the only
Dealing
thing
with-
that's bonded is the infrastructure. So once the infrastructure is done, the bond is then released.
Yeah, and that's the ponds, the
Not-
roads, the
The
curbs,
roads,
the
yeah.
landscaping.
Right,
things
right.
like that.
Okay.
Right. This is standard practice with subdivisions where the applicant would like to plat prior to completing the infrastructure. The reason being that once they plat, they're able to legally start selling lots. So we don't want a situation where they come in, they start selling lots to people who then become citizens of the city. They go
And that
bankrupt
structure.
or take off, and now these people own lots with no water or sewer connections, or the landscaping hasn't been done, and or infrastructure that's just not complete. But in doing this now for over 20 years, I can say that I've never seen a case where we've actually had to call a bond.
Okay, Good. Thank you very much. And before I open up public comments, I just want to say thanks again to staff for representing the will of the commission, making sure that I was aware of the emails. So I appreciate that. Now with that, are there any further questions? We will open this up to the public. Is there anyone in the, yes, ma'am?
You going to bring the applicant up?
Yeah. Is Mr. Merrill the applicant
He's representing the applicant, yes.
for the next? Okay. Before you begin, Heidi, just 1 second. Is the applicant here tonight? No, sir. Okay. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Heidi Heller, 460 Ridgewood Avenue in the future excellent city of Holly Hill. Miss Valerie, can you put that same picture back up? Can you also rotate it 90 degrees to the right to align it north-south?
Uh-oh, you're asking a lot now.
Can we just tilt our heads?
Yeah, just tilt your head, Heidi.
That's it?
Just tilt your
Okay.
head.
Can't do it. Okay, so I'm going to read on instrument, the agreement that was between the city and the vineyards on February 13, 23, instrument number 2023-028626. And this is number 6P, emergency access to be provided on Kavanaugh Drive. Kavanaugh Drive, on the top to the right is a little circle, but Kavanaugh Drive is actually goes out, keeps on going out because it goes down to Third. So that's 100% blocked. Doesn't exist, even though the agreement says that it's supposed to be there.
I don't believe that to be true. It's just not supposed to be paved. So it's an emergency access.
So right now, I went down and looked at it,
Yeah.
and the road is stopped. There is a ditch in front of it, so
But-
something cannot get through, and I'll finish.
There's a culvert there now.
There's
I
a-
was there yesterday.
And there's two pipes actually coming up in the middle of the road. So my question goes, is that going to be okay? Is it going to be blocked off? I just want to ensure that there is going to be an access there. It doesn't look like there's a possibility, I'm not an engineer, but there is two about 4-inch pipes coming up in the middle of the access road.
What are you doing trespassing on a construction site, ma'am?
Pardon? I was on
You
the
can
public
see it from
road. I was on
Kavanaugh. You can
Kavanaugh.
see it from Kavanaugh.
So I wanted to ensure that. And all these roads, another question, and all these roads are renamed. Are these public roads? Is the access to that area public, or is that totally private
Public.
property?
Public.
It's all public. Okay. And to go back to the state property that was mentioned earlier, so what if the state keeps it? There were access roads, and I think it was called Cedar, that used to be there, and they're totally gone now. So now that means I don't see in an agreement any possibility of having a new access road cut through, or do they really have a right to go through that property anymore?
Yes, they're public roads, so there will be access from the actual
Okay,
development road.
so I just wanted to clarify that emergency.
Yes, ma'am. I had the same concern. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And thanks for the 88 pages of rules and regulations.
Hey,
Thanks
thank
for
you for reading through them.
No, I didn't.
Oh, come on. Maybe when you're a commissioner. All right. Is there any further public comment on this item tonight? Seeing none, I'll close public comments, and I'll open the floor for a motion. We have a motion for approval from Commissioner Johnson.
Second.
We have a
Well-
second.
Go ahead, you got it.
We have a second from Commissioner Curry. Is there discussion needed? I just want to say, Heidi, I had some of the same concerns, and I went down there myself to see. I will tell you, yesterday, there is a new culvert put in, and they're still building it up, so there will be access. Is that correct? Okay. So they are completing that as well, and there will be access to the state-owned property as well. I also asked that. So thank you for your comments. With that, we'll go ahead and take a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, The motion carries 5-0. Now we're going to move to our public hearings. We have one public hearing tonight, and that is ordinance 2023-0-35 for second reading. Mr. Simpson.
Don't we have two ordinances?
We have two, yeah, and a second reading of ordinance 3066.
Yep. So I'm going to go ahead and read both, like we're customary, and then will there be a presentation? But then when you go to make your vote on each motion's resolution separately. So make a motion and vote on them separately. So ordinances, I'm sorry. Resolution 2023-0-3065 by title only for second and final reading. An ordinance of the City of Holly Hill, Florida, amending the comprehensive plan by amending the future land use map designation of certain property identified as 1872 North Nova Road and 1888 North Nova Road, having parcel numbers 4242-31-01-0290 and 4242-31-01-0291 by virtue of a small-scale future land use map amendment, changing the future land use map designation from MXZ, mixed-use zoning, to general commercial, providing for conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, and providing an effective date. And then ordinance number 2023-0-3066, an ordinance to City of Holly Hill, Florida, amending the land development regulations by amending the official zoning map to designate the property described in Exhibit A from B5 Heavy Commercial, Volusia County, to CC1 Commercial Corridor District, Holly Hill, providing for conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, and providing an effective date.
Great. Thank you very much, Mr. Simpson. Now I'll turn the floor over to Mr. Walker. I know this is the second reading. Is there anything changed since the first reading?
No, sir.
Thank you. Do you have anything to add?
Nothing to add.
All right. Does the applicant have anything to add to this from last time? Thank you, Mr. Merrill. And I will open this up for any questions from the City Commission. Seeing no questions, we'll open it up to the public. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak on this item tonight? Seeing none, I will close public participation. I'll entertain a motion for approval of ordinance 2023-0-65. We have a motion for approval from Commissioner Johnson.
Second.
We have a second from Commissioner Curry. Any discussion needed? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? The motion carries unanimously. Now, ordinance 2023-0-3066. Do we have a motion for approval?
And I'll second.
We have a motion for approval from Commissioner Johnson and a second from Commissioner Curry. Any discussion needed on this? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? The motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much. Now we're going to move to communications. We'll start today with our city manager, Mr. Forte.
Thanks, Mayor. I have a couple of just update items. So at the end of the month, we still have another commission meeting, but the weekend after Thanksgiving is the Christmas parade. So the conditions will be the same as they were last year. Each commissioner will be responsible for getting their own vehicle and driver to carry them through the parade. We're going to, at the end of the parade, everybody will hopefully pull up in front of the chamber building at the same time. Everybody get out at the same time. The vehicles will go back in behind the Chamber of Commerce, and then there'll be a place in front of the chamber sectioned off for members of the commission to observe the parade there. There'll be no reviewing stand.
Can we fit the stand this year, though?
It's landscaped over there now.
And there's no way to fit it? It seems like a lot of room, like even in front of the chamber, last year seemed like a lot of room.
I got it.
I think, Steve, if you don't mind judging.
Yeah,
Told us that it overlaps the sidewalk. It's very wide.
I think that's what it is we didn't want to block the sidewalk, and the depth of that pushes it out onto the grass.
Why not
area.
block the sidewalk? It's always blocked whenever we have that there. I mean, no one walks through it.
I don't know. I
It's always straight
I got
to
to find
the-
out an answer. I don't know the answer to what you're asking.
Okay, and I'm
I'll
sorry
find
to
out.
put you on the spot. We didn't
No.
talk about this, but
That's why
I
we
would
have
like
time.
to see if we could get that again, especially this year with, we have Val, if you would like to announce who is coming, Mrs. DeSorbo. And what is her title again? Into the mic.
It's Miss World America 2023,
That's
Victoria
awesome.
DeSorba.
So she's going to Miss World Universe, I think it's called, on
I
behalf of America.
don't know how the next
Yeah.
levels are, but she keeps going up the ladder.
That's
so,
awesome. And she
yeah.
was previous, I think 2017 or
20
18.
Yeah, 2017, she was our Miss Florida Teen USA.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she was one of the good ones.
Yeah, she was.
Some of them come with interesting traits, but she was one of the good ones, so I'm happy to have her. Thank you, Val, for that, for setting that up. And being that we will have Miss World America here, it would be nice to be able to have that and have them up there on, I don't want to say on display, that's not the right.
She'll be here Friday. She's actually going to arrive on Thursday with her mom. And then her plan is to, since she's going to, she'll be coming in late, the plan is to maybe get you guys to probably do a breakfast or lunch on Friday. And then when we get closer to that date, Joe and I will, arrange that for
Great.
you guys.
Awesome, thank you very much. So, Joe, if you could look into it, if
Yeah,
you could.
I'll try to get an answer and I'll email it out to you.
Awesome, thank you very much.
The next item is the the infamous Welcome to Holly Hill above the pickleball courts. The price on that, as you saw, came back
Yeah.
a little high, $13,000. I thought it was a bit high. So I'm going to have to, because of that price, I'm going to have to bid it out no matter what. I did reach out to Natasha, who was the young lady that painted the murals on the bridges, and I asked her if that's something in her wheelhouse that she can do, and she said she can. So I'll invite her to submit me a proposal using the same font. The only question that she asked me so far is the actual height and width of those areas, so that she can get what the font size would be, and then she would create a stencil and put it up, and so we'll see if that's an opportunity to do it that way.
Can it be vinyl too? I mean, do you know? I mean, do you want to reach out to like Carmen at Fast Signs and
I'm
see?
concerned that vinyl will eventually peel off a whole lot quicker than a paint job will.
Yeah,
And we don't want to put up a banner.
right, no
So we
banner.
want to put something that's more permanent. So, I mean, a vinyl application will, especially because it's outside between the humidity and the heat and the cold, that will eventually peel off
I
pretty
don't know, I'm no expert on signs, but
Yeah.
it might be worth a call to Carmen. She might know.
Yeah, we
better.
could ask her.
And if there's a way to save money that she thinks will be long-term,
Yeah.
might be worth looking into.
Yeah, I'll find out.
Okay.
Then, as you know, the chamber is in the process of dissolving. The city's not going to take over the corporation. There's too much potential liability that would exist with that, so it's going to completely close down. We are transferring internally the phone line for events and the website for events for ticketing for the concerts. So just let you kind of know that that should kind of end up somewhere during the month of December. That should all kind of come to a conclusion. I did reach out to Ormond and Daytona Beach Chambers to see if they would give us the courtesy of a business in our city that is doing an event, whether it's a ribbon cutting or an after hours or anything, that they would notify me so that I can invite the commission and the staff to attend if that's the case. And they graciously said that they would certainly do that. And then the only other thing that they've asked is that the city of Holly Hill become a member of their chambers. So those run $450 and $500 to join those two chambers, which we can probably generate those funds off of the sale of some of the bus shelter advertising, which John was able to secure this week for bus shelter sales, bus enclosure sales. So we'll get a little bit of revenue off of that. We're still moving forward with the motels that we talked about several months ago. One motel down at the south end, the Anchor, they have till December 11th to provide me with architectural plans for fixing the buildings, and if they don't, then Scott will move forward on that one to go ahead and start to go through the collection process. I've already given Scott notification to move forward on the Tropical Gable Motel, which is on Walker, right across from Chris's Lounge. They've met with us, and they haven't made any attempt to bring it into compliance, so that's one that we're going to go. When I say collections, it's basically foreclosure on it. So those are moving forward, as well as inspecting several of the other motels now.
What about the Colonial?
The Colonial still has to bring us designs by December 11th, but the Anchor is intended to be demolished. So she still has an opportunity to fix the Colonial. So there is somebody who is interested in working with her to repair both the Colonial and the Anchor. somebody that used to be a former commissioner here, that used to be a firefighter here, is interested. I'm trying to discourage that because I think the level of effort to repair those is
Yeah.
going to be beyond what its real value is.
And I tried to explain that to her as well.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens in about 3 weeks.
Who is it that owns those?
It's owned by, actually, it was.
Sakar is the
Patel's.
last name.
That's right, I said Patel. Sakar, and he passed away. The wife is still alive. The daughter is the trustee of the two trusts that the two motels are in. So she's the trustee, heir apparent of the properties once the mother passes.
Does she have plans for after she demolishes the one?
Initially, her conversation with me and the staff was that she's going through chiropractic school, and her plans were that she would tear the anchor down and eventually build some kind of a professional building there where she can practice her chiropractic work.
Perfect.
That's what we were told.
That's good, though.
So it's a step in the right direction, and we've encouraged that, so that's what we're hoping for. An update on the Aniston property.
I'm sorry, can I stop you one more time?
Sure.
Do we have any grants right now in the CRA to help with demolition of such a property?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, and are we looking to
We offered
offer
her-
that?
Oh, yeah, we offered the demo.
Good. Is she taking us up on it?
Don't know yet.
Okay, thank you.
So, even though you cannot get a grant if you have violations against your property, in this case, it would be the benefit to offer the grant.
Yes, and it's a new
She's
owner
just-
that's trying to actually
Yeah.
bring up.
She has a lot of, I really don't think it's cost effective for her to try to rehab the buildings. She used to be one of our police explorers, way back in the beginning. So that's how I kind of became involved, because she obviously called me. But
Good.
I definitely, she got everybody out that was squatting basically in
Well,
there.
actually, that was.
Well,
an
there's
effort.
one lady left, I'm told, that knows the eviction laws very
No,
well.
I think she also left. She's since gone. But the level, that eviction took place because of the chief and law enforcement. We were going down there for a meeting, and it was in such poor condition that with Bella's support, we were able to get the people removed from the property. So it went from a very bad condition of a homeless encampment to, it's better than that, but it still looks poor because it's boarded up. So we've got to continue going through
Yeah,
that process.
something has to be done with the buildings. And I'm glad personally, Mayor, let me just add, I am happy that code enforcement is going out and taking care of these issues, because they've been long time coming.
Given a lot of opportunity for improvement, which brings me to the Aniston property. So that property, I gave them the 30 days where they were supposed to make progress. They made some progress. So we kept it moving forward to the point where we had the vehicle towed off the property, and then we put a 20-yard roll-off container on the property. My thought is that they would be filling that container up to the point where we can have it dumped twice. They're going through the contents on the property as if they're separating items of value from items of no value. So at the end of the month, I don't think it's going to be successful. I think we've given them every opportunity, but they're going to still have items on the property that the general population would consider to be trash, and she's going to consider it to be of value.
When is the deadline again?
I don't know the final deadline,
I saw
but
that they have a roll-off now.
yeah, in reality, it'll probably happen after the first of the year. We'll get through the holidays,
Okay,
is what will probably happen.
yeah.
And
When are
they'll-
when are we going to call the roll-off back? Did we give them a time for that?
We gave them to get 2 pickups.
Okay, so as long as those take.
Well, I think Waste Pro wants at least 1 pickup a month, so
Oh,
it shouldn't be more than 2 months, which will basically take us to the first of the year.
Okay, thank you.
And then
Deal with the tires?
Yeah.
they took some tires off the property, but not all the tires.
Oh, not all.
There's still a couple tires that are back behind the hedges on the front yard that you can't see if you just drive by, but I know that they're there.
Because I know they had a deal where you could, I think, dump them at the Speedway for free.
Yep, we
Yeah, they
provided.
Yeah,
them
there
that
was
information.
recently an
They
amnesty
dropped-
day.
Staff
Yep.
dropped off a packet about it to let them know.
But they still didn't.
Well, they did
Not
get
all.
rid of several of them that were out by the road. So I don't know how, but
Maybe the others are of value.
not really. And then the last thing is this Friday is our annual luncheon before Thanksgiving, so you're all welcome to attend if you're available. We're going to be doing it over at Seco Hall, so about 11:30 to 1:30.
Great.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, one last thing. We spoke a little bit about this, this gentleman that wants to do a mosaic up on the Halifax Bridge right here, Daytona Avenue. So this is kind of a rough sketch of what he would like to put up there. You could leave that one up there. Go with the other one. All right, so this would be the bulk of the, of what the mural is, and he wants to keep and I think it's a good idea, keep the name Halifax Canal on there, and that's the canal number. He'd have a sunburst on the right side, whatever kind of bird that is. Egret, heron, something. He'd have a bird there. The brown box that you see is actually the plaque that's already on the bridge, and that will remain, and he'll work around it. And then you'll have kind of a sandy look in the front, and then a beach and sky look to the top portion. And then the next picture is an alligator that will be on the left side of the bridge where it kind of slopes up, and the alligator will fit in there. So it's not a lot of, it's not like a mural, there's not a lot of that kind of detail, but there's a lot of detail in that these are all little tiny pieces of tile that he's going to put on there. So he's pretty excited about it. I'm pretty excited about it. It may cost us about $1,000, which we would have in the CRA mural fund that we can go ahead and compensate him for that. But the material itself, I believe he's got donated from a business on Mason Avenue.
Oh, really? That's what I was going to ask, is how is it so cheap? Do you know, my only question, I love the idea, but do you know how long it'll last? I mean, how is it applied to the wall?
There are, it's typical of anything. It probably has a point where it will start to fail. But it should last for many, many years. And then if things start to chip off, somebody's going to have to go back and try to repair them or replace them. Or if it gets really bad, 20 years from now, you might have to scrape it. I don't know, but.
I just want to make sure though, like if it's thin set, like he's using the very best outdoor type, like whatever it is. I don't know the material.
He does these on exteriors.
Oh, he's well versed. Okay.
Oh yeah. Good. This isn't a hobby. This is what he does.
Good.
So have you seen an example of his finished work, Joe?
I did.
Not to be critical, but the first picture looked rather elementary.
He does tile.
I know, but
I can show you a picture of a cabinet I built. It's not going to look as good as the cabinet.
No, my only concern is that the people that did the murals showed us artist renderings of the murals. If you put them side by side, they look exactly like that.
They're artists.
I know, but I'm hoping it looks a little better than that.
These are going to be different than the artist paintings because of it being a mural.
I just don't want it to look like it's done by a fifth grader.
No.
I think being a mural, or not a mural, but with the tile, I
Yeah.
don't think it's going to look like that, John.
Yeah, like I said, he's not an artist, he's a tile guy. So the mural people, they're artists. They can draw on paper with their eyes closed, what you and I can only imagine.
I think being done in tile is
It should
going
look
to
pretty
look
cool.
nice.
Now-
And I don't know where you could get tile work like that done for $1,000.
No, normally it's $250 a square foot.
So, I mean, we're getting a good deal, and I really believe it's going to make that wall look good.
So he's actually going to build the alligator in his business location, and then it'll be on one of those, mesh backs, and then he'll apply it in place. So,
okay, yeah.
the greater concern I have for him, is like I had for the others, is the safety, because there's no sidewalk on that side. So we
Right.
will have to shut the road down, at least in that direction, while he's working. So we're going to have to detour people onto 10th Street, so that
It
he
shouldn't
doesn't.
take him long because he's doing it all at a mesh.
Not doing it all. He's doing the alligator so a lot of it he's still going to do on site. But
Is he local here?
he lives beachside in Daytona.
Okay.
Yeah,
Why does he want to do it?
just give back to the community.
Okay. Good.
Just like it's Yeah.
Stronger.
So there was actually a mural that he saw, a mosaic that he saw down in South Florida that he was going to volunteer to fix for them, and he figured he'd want to do this instead because he saw the murals and wanted to add to it.
Awesome. Love it. Good. Any objections?
I have none. I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
All right. Thank you, Joe. Appreciate that. Anything further?
I don't think so.
All right, Mr. Simpson.
No comments.
Mrs. Manning, I know you spoke earlier, but
I
anything?
already gave you a big announcement.
Yeah, sorry, I might have beat you to the punch. Okay, I'll start off tonight. I have several things. I yesterday met with the other mayors for the elected officials roundtable and want to give a shout out to some of the only citizens that were there, our Holly Hillians in the back. So, and I saw they said public comment and someone got up and spoke, and then you kind of went like this, and then she didn't call you, and then you went down and said, "What are you doing?" So next time we know you're not scared to talk, so come on up to that mic and do that there too. Oh, okay. Oh, okay, you're doing, okay, all right. Well, you faked me out, so. But anyways, thank you for being there. And, but the one thing that I thought that I should talk to the commission about, and I've spoke with Mr. Forte about, is the Live Local Act. And I don't know, I know, John, you're on the board. Have you sat through a presentation of the Live Local Act by Carmen Rosamonda?
No.
Rosamonda? No. So I didn't think that it affected us at all. Joe is still kind of under the impression that it doesn't really affect us. I think he's right. But it is something we should all be aware of. And there was a large presentation by the city manager of DeBerry, Carmen Rosamonda. And they're going to Tallahassee to fight back against this bill that was passed in this session 5-6 months ago. There's a lot of great things in the bill. This is the bill that provides the funding for the Hometown Heroes Act. It also provides funding for SHIP. There's a lot of wonderful things in the bill, but there's also some really detrimental aspects to the bill when it comes to superseding local governments completely when it comes to affordable housing. So in DeBerry's case, there was a project, a commercial project, huge commercial project that was going to create between $30 and $50 million worth of jobs in that area. And then furthermore, $800,000 in taxable value. And now they're being superseded by this law to where you can change any zoning, commercial, industrial, anything to the highest density residential, apartments. And so I forgot the number. I think it's like 2,000 apartments that they're looking to build there, and they're going to pay almost nothing in taxes. It's all going to be tax abated through this law. And so the problem with that is there's a big discussion about affordable housing, and everybody understands how unaffordable housing is right now. But the problem that I see, and I want to bring up an example from our own city, the problem I see is you have the state who is, and I think rightfully so, getting into affordable housing and providing incentives for that to be available. And then you have the problem is all of that burden falls on the city. It falls on our police department. A lot of those locations end up being a big time suck of our cops and have the most calls there. So with this project in DeBerry, it would be detrimental to them, and there's many other cities like that. And so our example is, and I don't know if you found out more about Charleston Place, Joe, or not, but
Yeah.
did you
Yeah,
find out more yet?
I was going to bring it up when you were done. The mayor and I inadvertently were comparing the taxes paid by Charleston Place and found out that they're not paying any taxes. They're only paying stormwater fees. Yeah. So I brought it to Michelle's attention, and she engaged Ernie Peterson. Ernie's the one that checks all of our taxes each month. And we found out that there's actually 2 properties in the city that are 100% tax exempt. And he sent us a list of a number of these properties throughout the county that are tax exempt. I don't know why. He's got to call into the property appraiser, waiting for them, or I should say the tax assessor, waiting for them to give him a response back. But very curious why At one point, we dropped to a 50% exemption and now 100% exemption on properties that require a greater amount of city services. So as soon as I hear back from him as to the reason why.
Well, you beat me to it because I was going to ask the commission to guess how much taxes Charleston Place
sorry.
pays.
Should have said, hold up, wait a second.
And you know what's funny? I asked my dad that question, and he got it spot on. He said 200,000. This year, they're supposed to pay $203,000 based on the millage rate. To us, that equals $70,000, $80,000, which, of course, Chief, shake your head if I'm right. There are a lot of calls to that area because of what's going on there. So, so we take in $0 from this place, and yet we have a lot of calls that our officers are having to respond to the corner of our city, taking them away from the rest of our city. So, but look, getting back to live, and so thank you for looking into that. A couple years ago, they were paying $130,000 in taxes. 2 years ago, it fell to 50%, and now it's 100% tax abatement for them. So I am interested to find out the reasoning for that. But the Live Local Act, so we do have one property, the middle school property that we all are aware of, that could become a Live Local Act. Mr. Forte is not concerned with that happening, but a developer could come in tomorrow and force our hand, meaning we own it, and they could come in and say, I'm buying it under the Live Local Act, and we have to sell it, period.
I don't think that's true.
That's what we're being told.
I don't think that's true.
So they're saying we have to, because we declared it as available for that.
We were required to notice the public of available property, available city-owned property that would be eligible for Live Local development.
Correct.
Which we
Mr.
didn't-
Simpson, are you saying that's
Well,
not
I'm saying
true?
There's nothing in the Live Local Act that talks about having to sell. Everything else you said is pretty much right.
So that's not,
That's not in the Live.
because that's
Local
what we were told.
Act. No, there may be something else that requires that we have to list it, but I can't imagine that they're going to force us to sell.
That's my thinking.
But-
But they're also, too, through the law, piercing through PUD agreements that are existing.
Yes, that
And,
is
something that should be completely protected, when it's a negotiation between a community.
They're not, I've heard of all these arguments about it. And
Yeah.
technically, they're not doing away with the PUD, they're not piercing the PUD. Really what the state is doing is they're creating an option. They can still build under their PUD.
Correct,
The
yeah.
state's just saying, here's an option. You can go this way if you build affordable housing. It has to be a certain amount of the project has to be affordable housing. But it's any
Has to be
property
40%.
zone, multifamily, commercial, or industrial. They can come in and they have a right to build within 1 mile of to the highest height within 1 mile of the project site. So go 1 mile from Marina Grande. Somebody could build a 55-story building.
Yeah,
Third Street,
What's that?
the Third Street property.
The Third Street property.
yeah.
And now there's some legitimate questions. On a city attorney blog, there's a lot of questions like, is it max, Marina Grande has density bonuses. So is it density bonus they can build to, but what if they don't meet the criteria that entitle them to a density bonus? Or is it the lower density that you're entitled to? But you have to go, I believe at least 40%.
Yes,
Of the
40.
residential units have to be offered as
Affordable.
affordable housing. That's defined under state law, but it could be all,
Yep.
but at least 40%. The only caveat, if you will, or help to local governments is if less than 20% of your community is commercial industrial property, then you can require, as a local government, that it be a mixed-use project. But I believe 60 or 65% of the mixed-use property has to be residential, of which 40% of that has to be at least affordable housing. But you can require at least, the way it's worded poorly. It says at least 65% has to be residential. Well, if they do 99%, that's at least 65%. So I think one of the proposals that I saw that the DeBerry manager of the town of DeBerry is proposing is it can be between 65 and 75%. Can't go more than 75% residential. At least 25% has to be commercial industrial. But that's only if less than 20% of your property is zoned industrial commercial. I don't think we would have that after deferred.
It was already residential.
You'll have a lot of commercial here in industrial, so
Well, and the most eye-opening thing about what you're talking about is all of that is going to be approved administratively and not come before city councils. And that is unheard of. It is, I think, the biggest takeaway from any type of home rule that we could possibly have.
that,
So,
and like, the reason I'm so familiar with this, in Lake Helen, y'all may have remembered that they were building the auto mall.
Yep.
Or an auto dealership
Yep.
over there. And the developer of that, when this law changed, all of a sudden came in and said, well, this is what I want to do, and if you don't do what I want to do, then we'll just see what we can build under the Live Local Act.
oh,
And so we had to look into that and see what is it allowed?
Yeah.
Where's the questions? So, we're proceeding outside of the Live Local Act with them. They still have the right to go to the Live Local Act. And I agree with you.
see, but they're holding you hostage. That is the worst part of government, right? That these governments, your city over there, Lake Helen, can be held hostage. That is what's happening in that agreement. So now you're going to have to, your city, if they want something that's not as bad as what they could do. That is crazy to me. So, but I didn't want to get into a huge debate because it's not too much focused on us. We don't have many properties that can do that, but wanted to make you all aware of it unless it came up. And I know you're on the board, Vice Mayor, and I think there will be support from the whole league to support some changes to that act. So, moving on from that, I did just want to briefly thank staff and thank the chief. I had an upset resident over by Grove Avenue contact me about another house that is similar to the Aniston property that we just talked about earlier tonight. And so I drove by it myself, and it is very, very similar. Where's it at? It's 700 Grove Avenue. And unfortunately, there's a lot of squatters there. The person that owned it died, and then these squatters moved in, and there's sheds in the backyard people are living in, and it's very bad. I know that code enforcement is on it. I know the chief is on it. I know your officers are. But I wanted to thank Mr. Forte and the chief for responding so quickly. And I received a phone call from that person to praise both of you up and down for jumping immediately on it, because there was a lot of questions from the neighborhood. Why is nothing being done? And a lot of times residents, we know that staff is usually looking into it and doing things, and things take time, but sometimes to residents it looks like nothing is being done. And so that was articulated well by you, Chief, and I know you, Mr. Forte, as well. So I appreciate that, and let him know that we will look into this if need be, based on what we did with the Aniston property, and that may come before us at some point. Just wanted to make you guys aware of that. Also, the one other thing I wanted to ask this commission tonight is, we have, and I mentioned this in passing before, when the 6th Street property came up, that I guess a year ago now, that I wanted to see in the future developer-initiated community neighborhood meetings before it goes to the Board of Planning and Appeals, especially before it comes to us. And I wanted to bring this up again because I said it in passing, and I didn't really ask for the support to move it forward. And so I wanted to see how you all felt about it. And let me explain why I want to look to implement this here in Holly Hill. Number one, if you look at other counties, Volusia County, Seminole County, they have these as a requirement. If you look at Ormond Beach, Daytona Beach, several of the cities have this as well. So what I'm proposing is if we're looking at a project to increase density or to change residential to commercial or to increase that land use, that if it is abutting any residential neighborhoods, that it is required that the developer first have a neighborhood meeting. And it's initiated by them. And the reason for it is this. When we are here, for instance, at our next meeting, we will have a quasi-judicial hearing coming before us. And I can guarantee you that we will have several citizens out there coming to the mic asking us questions on the dais. And in a quasi-judicial hearing, we shouldn't be taking the time to have to answer all of these questions. But I will, just as this commission always has done, because we want to make sure that those questions are answered and that they understand. But at that point, it's almost too late for a lot of these questions. Now, I don't blame the citizens in any way, shape, or form. If we weren't in our roles here, we wouldn't get information up front, and sometimes we may go, oh my goodness, the meeting is tonight, I need to go and get this question answered. And by that time, it's far too far. Now, a lot of times what happens with other cities is when these developers meet with the neighborhood, number one, they're listening to what the neighborhood wants in that area. And so they can maybe take suggestions of changing it and seeing the ideas. But the number one thing is that they're going to answer questions, because then that way, by the time it gets to the Board of Planning and Appeals, they're not coming up and asking the Board of Planning and Appeals what the questions are and then coming to us and asking those questions. I guarantee you next week, there's going to be lots of people in this audience. I don't know how many. I know there were several at the Board of Planning and Appeals. And a lot of times, as you all are aware, they ask the questions and we do answer them, but they feel like they're not being heard. And that's not their fault, that's our fault. That's our fault for not making them feel heard. And I think that it only behooves us to do it. I think that it'll cut down on confusion about a project. It'll educate them on the project. And, you know, I think when you listen to any government meeting about a development, everything is about flooding now, and rightfully so. People are concerned about it. But with a lot of these projects in the engineering, and our attorney will tell you that does not come into play because of the engineering that is set before us. So we can't base it on, well, what if it is going to flood? But that's the concern. So I think that will only educate the citizens more, and I would love to look to have it. I think that, you know, we don't have many properties left to be developed, but we do have properties that at some point in the next several years will be redeveloped. It's just, it naturally happens. And so with that case, I just put myself in the shoes of if I lived in a neighborhood and suddenly the property that I purchased next to, and I knew it was single family designated homes, and now suddenly it's going to be multifamily, I would want to go to a meeting and learn about it and to have my say as well with the developer. So I don't know how you all feel about that, and I hate to put you guys on the spot, and we can discuss it if you guys need time to think about it later, but I just wanted to bring it up tonight and see if there's any comments on it.
I think communication is great. I just don't want to put another hurdle in the path. You know, if we're talking of changing one parcel in a residential, that's zoned residential, that's in a commercial district, and they want to change it to commercial. I'm all in favor of it, of like the vineyards, that thing that we did tonight. There's a lot of houses going in. Let's get, but I don't know at what point do you limit that to the acreage size or the density size, or where does all that come into play?
Yeah.
Because some of these rezonings we do are common sense, you know? There's an old house that's in the middle of a commercial district on
Yeah.
State.
Right.
And they want to turn that into commercial. Well, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And there's only two people that it abuts. But if it affects a whole neighborhood, so something like the RV park up there, that affects that whole neighborhood, but that's 25 acres. So I just don't know where would you draw the line? Is it anything over 1 acre development?
You're completely right. You're completely right, and I thought about that too, and some of my thoughts are future land use whenever density is going up, because if you're going up with density, that means that's going to be multiple units, right? So, but also too, there's standards of other cities that use this. I was looking through, I really spent most of my afternoon actually going through most of the other municipalities and counties, how they require it, and it's all different. And to be honest with you, I'm not qualified enough to be able to work the Muni Code as probably our staff is, to tell us what are the requirements, when does it kick in for other cities, and there's already a roadmap for that. I think that we could do that. I know that at some point in, excuse me, excuse me, some point in the past, I know that there were community meetings like this here in Holly Hill, at least, and I think when you were in office and my father was, he had talked about them little community meetings before these. But it's a good question, and I'm open to setting that criteria. I don't know exactly what that needs to be. I have some ideas. So, but my thought is to ask staff to give us some recommendations on that, because you're right. If it's a small little house that, and it's surrounded by commercial, I don't think that's the concern. I think the concern is the projects that are much bigger.
Nobody wants Walmart in their backyard.
Right, right. So, what are the other thoughts from the commissioners?
I would be willing to workshop it to see what parameters were, and I'd be willing to look at it.
I'd like to see some of the other criteria that you.
What the other cities are doing?
Yeah.
Mr. Johnson, do you oppose any of that?
I don't oppose any of it.
Okay, so, Mr. Forte, what I'd like to do with consensus here is ask for your staff to compile what the other cities do for these these developer-initiated meetings, and bring that back to us. Maybe we could have a workshop in the near future to maybe bring something back to have a policy made. Thank you. Okay, and then the last thing is just want to remind the commission that December 14th, Volusia League of Cities right here in Holly Hill will be hosting, and it's going to be a good evening. So with that, I'll turn it over to our vice mayor. Do you have anything for us tonight?
Just like to give credit to the two ladies that are running the farmers market on Sundays. I think they're doing a really good
Yeah.
job. A lot of faces here I've seen there, so that's good. We are running out of time for nominations for the Citizen of the Year.
Oh, that's right.
A couple weeks ago. And December 9th at 9 a.m. at R&R Roofing, we will be packing the food for the Christmas Club. There'll be 1,000 boxes of food packed that are distributed amongst East Side Volusia County residents. That's it.
It's funny how roles
Thank you, Vice.
change.
I know.
Vice
Thanks
Mayor?
for dumping it on me.
I didn't dump it on you. It was your friend.
Yours. Curry?
Thank you, Mayor. I don't really have anything. I hope everybody has a good night.
Thank you. Commissioner Daniel?
When Joe was talking about the homeless thing, I was wondering if you had an update on that Third Street. Third Street and Riverside homeless camp thing.
Oh,
Yeah, they've been cited. No, I don't have anything new other than what he's talking about is a residential property at the corner of Third and Riverside where the owners of the property have invited homeless to sleep in their backyard. So,
I got a customer lives like next door. He keeps coming in asking me, well, it's like the camp keeps growing to like 13 residents now. And I know things move slow, but just kind of, when you were talking about,
code enforcement has been out, but they're not, from what I understand, they're not cooperative.
anything else?
no, good.
Commissioner Johnson?
The only thing I have is like to update on what we do with the TPO. And finally, it seems like we're moving quite a bit ahead. And LPGA is still a big, large concern really, because it's such a bottleneck, especially around where the exit is now, because of Buc-ee's, I believe. Oh, my God.
It's horrible.
Out there, so it's unreal. It's when you come off I-4 coming in that way, I've never come that way anymore, because you just sit there, you can't move or anything. It's really bad, but they finally come up with the DOT finally finalized the plans of how they're gonna do the LPGA exit over I-95. And now it's made it where it's gonna, the south side's gonna be closed by what do you call that, where the Sam's Club is and the
The Tomoka Town Center?
Tanger Outlet?
Well, the whole Tanger thing, the whole side's gonna be along that mall. And then the whole other side's gonna be way over by the Humane Society and coming up by where Buc-ee's and Stonewood and all that is. So it's gonna be quite a gap now between the two lanes of LPGA where it goes over I-95. And they're gonna widen the bridge is gonna be like 6 lanes, the little bridge down by the auto mall. It's gonna be 6 lanes, they're gonna raise it a little bit higher, they say, because of rising sea level, if anybody really knows about that. And they're gonna make it wider, they're gonna make it longer, they're gonna make it 6 lanes, probably over to past where the fire station, Daytona Fire Station is.
Wow.
And then it's gonna be 4 lanes from there out to 92. And it's gonna be probably mostly 6 lanes all the way out to Nova Road, but what are we gonna do when we get to Nova Road? We still gotta get to US 1. So, that's still in the works as well. But that's the way the plan is. The exits will be, instead of having any kind of clover leaf or diamond or anything, it's just gonna be a straight exit across one lane of the interstate, right over to the other lane coming in. It's gonna be a traffic right in the exit coming off to get back on the interstate or something, coming off the interstate, coming back across LPGA. That's how it's gonna be that way. They can widen it, they can use it, they don't have to have a lot of property on each outside lanes of it or something. So that's pretty well, they finally got it finalized. It'd be nice if you just see it, then you can kind of picture how it is on the diagram or something. They pretty well got it. Maytown Road exit will be the second one after Pioneer Trail. Pioneer Trail is pretty much a done deal. Then the Maytown Road, which is south of New Smyrna and Edgewater and all, is Maytown. North of it would be Pioneer Trail, so we're gonna have more exits, which some people are against it, but I don't really see where it could really have a problem with anybody. It'd take a lot of traffic off of Dunlop and in different areas down there now. And then after that, those two is coming pretty quick. The LPGA, within the next couple of years, are gonna start on that. And then after that, I think in 26 or 27, they're gonna do the oldest exit on I-95 in Florida, which is at US 1 and I-95. And that's gonna be quite a project, you know, the crossover lane, widen the road on US 1 and everything up there for that. So that's where they're going with these things. They're still doing Williamson Boulevard, which the county, I think, is footing the bill to go from Strickland Range Road to Hand Avenue in Williamson, because they've already completed it from LPGA to Strickland Range Road. So now they're going to do it. Then they're going to do, the county's already agreed to do Hand Avenue all the way from Williamson to Nova Road, 4 lanes all the way out to that. And hopefully, if they ever come about with the other project they're going to do that's in Daytona on the other side of I-95, and I think they've kind of agreed to let Hand Avenue go over. So if they build a good wide road from LPJ to 40 through Margaritaville, that'll take, and then they can get Hand Avenue, they can get to that, they get 40 all the way to LPGA, and all of that's going to help so much in our area of the traffic and all. That's pretty much the plan. It seems like it's really coming together, starting to fall in place. So that's kind of the update of what's going on with the TPO. So at least they are working with the DOT. They are doing some really good projects. I just wanted to give kind of an update on the only other thing I had was that it was a really good ceremony on Saturday for the for all the veterans and all. And then
Except for
after
the
that-
time,
Huh?
except for the time,
No.
10 o'clock. Why do you do it 10 o'clock?
Why?
That was
Because
good.
it kills your whole morning. Can't do anything before 10 o'clock. I mean, all these old people, they get up at like 5:30. Why do you have
Sorry,
to
wake people
at 10 o'clock?
And it was pretty good, and then after that, they had that free lunch at the American Legion, which I took Dallas and some of his baseball players was there, because they did a tournament this weekend, so we had lunch at the American Legion, so it was great. Nice that we have the American Legion Post 120 actually in our city. So it's good. And that's about probably all that I have. I'm just so glad to see Nova Road increasing and more people moving onto it, and I like the company on Nova Road because, you know, I'm kind of a favorite of Nova Road. But then if they would just do that car wash at Flemish and Nova, that would be such a great thing as well.
Amen.
But I'm sure that's coming on pretty good, right?
The plans are in, and Mr.
Plans are in, but we're
Forte-
sending them to the special master next month.
Yeah.
all because of
The conditions of the
They're
building
not
are
doing
horrible.
anything.
it is looking kind of rough, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I still have my bush hogger, go ahead and bush hog it down for 'em.
Well, thank you, Mr. Johnson, and thank you for bringing up also the veterans ceremony. That was really great. Thank God we have a great American Post.
Give me a new hat, a new 120, post-120 hat.
Oh, I love it. I love it. And I had to leave at the very end of that before it ended because I was coaching my daughter's soccer game, so I had to rush off before I was late to that. So, but it was a great event. And next year we will be standing in front of the wonderful monument that we've all worked so hard to see come into fruition. That will honor our veterans forever. So, is there anything further? Yes, sir.
There's a big national pickleball tournament this weekend across the street. Professional
really?
pickleball.
It's the
Association.
PPA,
Oh, it's the PPA one.
Professional Pickleball Association.
Good.
They tend to have some of the better players, so you'll see people like the number 1 ranked guy, Ben Johns, the number 1 ranked lady, Anna Lee Waters, and many, many other great athletes.
They're lucky I don't play.
It's a time. They're lucky I don't play.
Ben Johns would be number 2. So. All right, maybe after I get done with this mayor job, I can focus on my professional pickleball career. Yes, sir.
So far in Dallas's football, little football games you had, you've already got 2 picks.
There we go. There we go.
It's unheard of in kids' football.
I love it.
Set that ball at one goal out and run them all the way to the other.
Get him to the NFL, and he can donate back to the city.
Dallas has done it.
All right. Is there any further business? Seeing none, this meeting is adjourned.